Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You could find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. I'm here today to help you walk through and quickly break down this three-game NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. As always, if you haven't already, please like the video. Also, subscribe to our channel. That helps us to climb these YouTube algorithms so we can get you more free content like this. Additionally, if you're not already a member at Occupy Fantasy, check the links in the description below. You get access to the model you see here, as well as our lineup builder for both single entering and multi entering, access to our private Discord server where you get to talk to DFS pros about building your lineups, contest selection, and everything else you would need to win money at DFS. And we also have a window leading up to each slate lock where you can ask an expert in a voice channel specific questions about building your lineups for any given slate. So without further ado, let's get into this slate here. Only 3 games, so it should be relatively easy to break down. First game on the slate, we have the Los Angeles Clippers at the Miami Heat. The Heat are 6.5-point favorites at home, only a 213.5-point game total here. So this one's a little tricky because the Clippers have yet to release their injury report. They're actually on a back-to-back here, and we just saw. Let me refresh this page. We just saw Kawhi Leonard play 29 minutes last night. He's kind of been working his way back from injury. We saw Paul George get pretty good minutes here as well. So there's a chance they rest either or both. If I'm guessing, which I'm totally doing right now, I think the most likely scenario is we see Paul George play, Kawhi Leonard sit, and John Wall, who rested last night, back in the lineup. He's been coming off the bench, but I do like him a lot here as long as he is active and available. The good news is, even though we don't have this injury report now, we will have it before the slate locks. This is the first game at 7:30 Eastern, so we have to keep an eye on this. But yeah, Paul George is in. I think he's fine. He's tough to prioritize over the other expensive plays on the board here. Kawhi Leonard, I don't think he plays tonight, and even if he does, he'll probably play less than he did last night. So I don't know. I just don't think Kawhi goes here. If he does, he's okay. Wouldn't really get to him on DK. Let me look at his price quickly on FanDuel. 5,200 on FanDuel. I mean, if he's in, he's definitely in play on FanDuel. So I will say that now. Personally, I really, really doubt he's in on the back-to-back. We should get this injury report soon, hopefully. So yeah, if you are an Occupy member, just keep an eye on the Discord. And then yeah, the model updates throughout the day as this news breaks, pretty much in real time. So if we get word that Kawhi is out, like within 10 minutes, you should see an update to the model on both ownership, projections, everything like that. That's why it's such a valuable tool. But yeah, I do expect John Wall to be back tonight. He's probably my favorite Clipper player here. If Wall isn't back, Reggie Jackson's going to look better than he does otherwise. Marcus Morris dealing with an illness. If George and Kawhi are both out and Morris is in, I think he's going to have a very high usage rate, so he'll be appealing here. If he's also out and they're out, then Terrence Mann's going to be who we're going to have to take a look at. Then in the cheap range, I mean, guys like Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, really only looking at them if Kawhi and George are out, but in that same breath, I mean, we're just lacking value on the slate as things stand. So I could see getting to a guy like Covington who has been consistently hitting that 20-point kind of threshold, which is what you like to see out of these sub 4K plays. Yeah, a little bit more expensive on FanDuel at 4,600, but you get the multi-positional eligibility. So Covington's a value play I definitely have my eye on. But it's really tough to prioritize anyone here until we get that news. Over on the Heat side, it looks like Jimmy Butler's questionable, Dwayne Dedmon's questionable. Then pretty much the entire team's listed as probable. Gabe Vincent is still out. So if Butler's in, he's a decent play on DK. At 9,900 on FanDuel, I'd struggle to get to him. Lowest game total on the slate. Not a great defensive matchup. And yeah, I mean, on a back-to-back, I could see them limiting him even if he's in. So it's tough for me to get to Butler on FanDuel. I do think he's fine on DK, where you're looking at, 8,600, I think? Yeah, 8,600. Good price for him over there. If Butler's out, that's going to make Bam on a bio one of the best plays on both sites. 9K on FanDuel feels a little pricey. 8,400 on DK is like a no-brainer if Bam's out, so I like him a lot there. Tyler Hero's been really solid lately. He's up to 8,400 on FanDuel, which is tough to kind of stomach. But at the same time, I mean, he has consistently been hitting value at that price. We've seen him go for 40 fantasy points in each of his last 5 games played. So I do like Hero here. I like him much more if not Bam, sorry, Butler. If Butler sits, if Bam were to sit, then yeah, Hero would obviously look better. But yeah, keep an eye on that. I mean, he's listed as probable. He should be good to go. And the thing about FanDuel, I mean, on these short slates, they have been upping the prices on everyone, so it's kind of tougher to just load in studs. So I do like Hero here as well. But yeah, we got to keep an eye on this as things stand. I do like Bam and Hero. I think they're strong plays. They're both better if Butler is out. I'd really only get to Lowry if another one of these guys is ruled out. But on a short slate, it's tough to say any starters out of play. If you're playing a bunch of lineups, I could see getting to some Hero. Oladipo returned the other night. He looked good, but he only played 19 minutes. If we get word that his minutes will tick up, I think on FanDuel he was min priced the other day. Let's take a look down here. Yeah, 4K flat. I mean, on a limited slate, if we get word he's going to see around 25 minutes, I think he's viable. Not someone I'm rushing to get to as things stand. Like I said, I think Bam's the priority here. Tyler Hero as well. Both more appealing on DraftKings, which is a bit surprising, but they're going to be solid options here. So, yeah, keep an eye on this news. It's going to be very important for both teams. But the good news, again, that's the first game on the slate. So we should have it. Moving into the second game on the slate, we have the Houston Rockets at the San Antonio Spurs. The Rockets are 1.5-point favorites on the road in San Antonio. We're looking at a 230.5-point game total here, which is certainly more favorable than the first game. Big news for the Spurs, no Devin Vassell. Or he's listed as doubtful. If he gets upgraded, then yeah, we have to keep an eye on that. But as things stand, it seems like he'll certainly be out tonight. Jeremy Sochan is out. Josh Richardson is now probable. Keita Bates-Diop is out as well. So, I mean, the big news here, and Jakob Poeltl, the starting center, also out. But the big news here is Devin Vassell. That makes Keldon Johnson one of the more appealing plays on the board. Anytime we're getting him extra usage or rebounding opportunities, he becomes more appealing, and we're getting both here. Because not only is one of their highest usage players in Vassell out of the lineup tonight, but Jakob Poeltl, their highest rating rebounder, highest rebounding rate, he's out. So we're going to see two boosts for Johnson here, which makes him one of the best plays on the slate. I could see prioritizing him anywhere and everywhere. Trey Jones, whenever he gets more usage, he becomes more appealing. I do like Josh Richardson for value if he starts. I think he will with Vassell out of the lineup, but that's something I want to keep an eye on. If he's coming off the bench, he's a little bit tougher to trust, but I will like Josh Richardson here if he's in the starting lineup. So keep an eye on that. Good price on both sides. Certainly someone we want to consider. Then at center, I mean, Zach Collins has been chalk on pretty much every slate. He just hasn't really been performing. He got in foul trouble last time out. You see that 5 personal fouls. Only played 17 minutes against the Suns. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of good centers for a 3-game slate, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. But at the same time, we're seeing very high ownership on Collins. It looks like Bassey's actually climbed above him in terms of ownership. That's a price thing. I mean, Bassey's only 3,600 on DK, and he is the backup center. He should push around 20 minutes. So he's probably the better play point per dollar as things stand. So keep an eye on that ownership. If Collins is the higher owned player, then I do like Bassey as a pivot in tournaments. But if that flips, I mean, I'm happy to go back to Collins as long as he's starting. He's been terrible, but if you look at his rates dating back to even when he was with the Blazers, he should be producing at a much higher level. So I do like Collins here. I do like Bassey here. I like whoever's lower owned, but there is a pricing discrepancy. So it is easier to get the Bassey, so I do get that. It looks like Collins is 50% owned on FanDuel. That's kind of a product of the multi-position eligibility where you're getting him at power forward. Jeremy Sochan being out should help him here as well. But yeah, I mean, if you want to go to Bassey, I think he's a nice tournament pivot on FanDuel, but you'd have to use up that center spot. And yeah, I really like Nikola Jokic tonight, so it's tough for me to do that on FanDuel. Anything else for San Antonio or Houston? Well, there's a lot more for Houston because we haven't talked about them yet. So looking at the Rockets here, Kevin Porter Jr. is listed as questionable. Bruno Fernando questionable. Josh Christopher is questionable, and Jashawn Tate is still out. So if Porter's in, I think he's a good play. If he's out, I think Jalen Green is one of the best plays on the slate. So a way to kind of deal with this, since we do have to wait an hour, we may not have that news or that lineup when the slate locks. So if you build with Kevin Porter and he's out, you could easily pivot to Jalen Green. Did I say Tate? Whatever. But yeah, Jalen Green's going to look great here if Kevin Porter's out. I like Jalen Green regardless. He's just been pretty solid. I mean, inconsistent, but we have seen 40 fantasy points in games out of him on more than one occasion over the past week, even with Kevin Porter in the lineup. So something I'm certainly keeping an eye on. If Porter's in, I think he's the better upside play. But even with Porter in, I do like Jalen Green. He's cheaper on both sites. But if you only want one or the other, I think you build with Porter. If you get word he's ruled out, you can easily pivot to Green. Green would be a smash play here with Porter out. He'd be one of the best plays on the slate. That's going to create more usage for everyone on the team if Porter's out. Jabari Smith Jr., getting into foul trouble, a little bit inconsistent, but at just 5K on a short slate, I like him a lot on DK. A little bit more expensive. I think he's 5,900 on FanDuel. 5,800. So good play over there as well. Eric Gordon, I mean, as more guys are ruled out, whenever he's getting usage, I think he's a viable punt. Very, very scoring dependent, but we have seen ceiling games out of him. 14 real points, 26 fantasy points his last game out. So where you're getting him sub 4K on DK, I do think that's appealing. Not someone I'm ever prioritizing. Very, very scoring dependent, like I said. Not someone you could easily trust. But on a 3-game slate, you kind of have to look at guys you wouldn't want to normally on a larger slate. So I do have some interest in Gordon here. But again, the big news there is certainly Kevin Porter Jr.'s status. If he's in, he's a good play. If he's out, Jalen Green is one of the best plays on the slate. So keep an eye on that. Then just talking about the front court quickly, I do like Alperen Sengun. He hasn't been great over his last few games, but just in terms of talent, he's one of my favorite players in the league right now. Really like his upside here. Against the Spurs, who are missing Jakob Poeltl. Pretty favorable matchup. It's just the minutes are inconsistent. He's somewhat inconsistent. It's just we are seeing a very high ceiling. So in tournaments, I do like him a lot. And then guys like KJ Martin, if he starts on the wing, Terry Eason, they're okay. Neither guy I'm really prioritizing, but they would be in play on a short slate. So we can move into the last game here. We have the Denver Nuggets at the Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers, 1-point favorites at home, 228.5 point total. Starting on the Denver side, KCP's probable. Michael Porter Jr. is out. But yeah, Denver looks really strong once again. No surprise for me there. Nikola Jokic, I'll click over to the Occupy model. We're sorting by OF index, which is just upside kind of with price also factored in. We're seeing him much higher than any other play on the slate in terms of upside. He is pretty popular, but sub 40%. I mean, I don't even mind that at all. I could see going 100% Joker here. I just don't think anyone can touch his ceiling. And even if he doesn't have the best game, you're probably getting 50 fantasy points out of him. And on these shorter slates, raw points do matter. You don't always need to hit like 6, 7x value. You just really need to score the most points. So Jokic kind of gets you there. I like him a lot. Even with Murray in the lineup, his usage is down a bit, but he's still just the highest fantasy point per minute player on this slate, seeing 30-plus minutes. So I love him here. Jamal Murray, priced favorably on both sites. If those Houston guys are in, I think Murray's the better play at guard if you want to make that pivot. Like if you have Porter in and you get word that he's ruled in and you don't get that Jalen Green play, you could just easily pivot to Jamal Murray as well, as long as you have the 100 extra in salary on DK, and I think they're the same price on FanDuel, so it's an even easier pivot over there. Secondary plays, Bruce Brown, 6,200. He's priced 5,600 on FanDuel. I like him better over there. But Aaron Gordon, 6,300. He's 6,900 on FanDuel. I like him better on DK, but these are two guys I certainly have my eye on. I like them both. I think they're both solid plays. Kind of a boomer bust tournament play here is Bones Hyland, coming off an excellent game, 30 minutes, nearly 40 fantasy points, but with Mike Malone, you always just have to worry about how he deals with the rookies. If Bones is in and he makes a bonehead defensive play, he could get benched for the rest of the half and really miss out on minutes. Just a short leash Malone keeps on his rookies. So not a rookie. I know Hyland's a second-year player, but all of his young guys. I do like Hyland a lot in tournaments. I just think he's pretty risky. But I'm prioritizing Jokic. I'm prioritizing Murray, and I am prioritizing Brown on FanDuel and Gordon on DraftKings. So lots to like from Denver. Just a really good game environment. Then over on the Portland side, we're seeing Nasir Little out, Gary Payton still out, Keon Johnson, Josh Hart both probable, Drew Eubanks probable. So yeah, Dame's back in action, which is good to see if you're a Blazers fan. He does feel a bit overpriced on the short slate. I do think he has a tournament winning ceiling potentially. He's a nice run back with Joker if you can fit him. But as far as payups go, it's really Jokic for me, and then I'm not really prioritizing Dame over guys like Butler, even Jeremy Grant. Like I don't know. I'm just not rushing to Dame on the slate. I do like his upside, and if you're not building with Joker, it's very easy to get to him. But it's just tough for me to prioritize. The secondary plays here, I mean, Simons is a little too expensive. His price kind of adjusted for when Dame was out. Still putting up good scores, but he's just difficult to trust. I do like him in tournaments, though. Same with Jeremy Grant, another guy who was priced up. I like him in tournaments, but it's just tough to really get excited about him where he's around 8K. 7,400 on DK, certainly easier to digest. I don't mind that price at all. Then Yusuf Nurkic, another good center play on DK where you could play two centers. You can pair him with Joker. That's a really nice build in my opinion. On FanDuel, if you're not going to Jokic, I think Nurkic is probably your second safest option at center. I know a lot of people will go to the Spurs guys. Zubac, very high ceiling but low floor. I think Nurkic is definitely the second best center play on the slate, not counting Bam if Butler is out. Obviously, Bam would see a huge boost with Butler out. But yeah, really decent game here. I like the game environment. But again, you're waiting an hour and a half until lock for that one. But luckily, there doesn't seem to be much news we're waiting on in that late game. So yeah, I'm prioritizing Joker. I'll take a quick look over at the Occupy model here. Again, sorting by OF index. Let me just refresh this, actually. It's been a little while since I have. You can see some of these ownerships adjust and upsides adjust, things like that. But again, this is the model you get with your Occupy subscription, sorting by OF index. Joker, best play on the slate by considerable margin, followed by Paul George, assuming he's in. Bam, Dame, Jimmy Butler, no surprises. Obviously, if Jimmy's out, boost the Bam. If Porter's out, boost the Green, etc., etc. Sorting by value on DK, we are seeing Zach Collins still pop towards the top. I mean, he's been pretty terrible. His ownership is down as a result, but if he starts, and we're seeing Bassey become really popular, I do like Collins as a tournament pivot. Jabari Smith, fine play. Not crazy about Roby unless he starts. It's just tough for me to get excited about these dirt cheap guys, but on a 3-game slate, you might need some of them, especially if you're trying to pay up for Jokic and another high-priced option. Over on FanDuel, I mean, Caleb Martin was a major letdown, even with everyone out last time out. I think you could go back there at 4,600. Not someone I'm rushing to. Don't mind Doug McDermott either, but very scoring dependent, very kind of boomer bust as well. So, yeah, some news we got to keep an eye on, but for a 3-gamer, I do think it's a pretty fun slate. We got a few different options we can go to. But once again, if you haven't already, please like the video, click subscribe as well. That helps us climb these YouTube algorithms, get you more free content. My name is Nick Marro at Nick Marro DFS. If you're not already an Occupy member, please check the links in the description below. You get access to our lineup builders, our model, our experts in the Discord channel, and there is a 30-minute window leading up into each slate's lock where you could ask questions specific to your own builds. So once again, happy Thursday, everyone. Should be a really solid slate tonight. I'm looking forward to it. As always, have fun, good luck, and let's make some money.